welcome to Life, the Cathedral and Everything with a slightly different voice, though the Dean is in the room. Say hello, Mr. Dean.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Well, good whatever time of day it is. You're listening to this. Live radio, you know, it's a wonderful thing.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
we're in a three-way conversation here today. And I'm fond of talking about the Cathedral alumni, and there are quite a lot of people who come and play a part in our lives, hopefully learn something from us. But I'm also fond of saying to people that it's always the case as we teach that we learn something as well. So many of these people who come and spend time with us teach us a good few things as well. And I'm delighted that along with the Dean, we have Rachel. I always pronounce her surname, but I have to be careful here.
You will.
Monie?
Monie is correct.
Oh, do you know I've got it right.
Well done.
Thank you. And we've especially asked Rachel to be with us today because she, at present, is working for some of her week in the hospital chaplaincy. And obviously, at this time, with this COVID-19 crisis going on, I imagine that is both an interesting and a challenging place to work. But first of all, I think I'll begin by just asking Rachel, how are you, Rachel?
I'm doing all right, actually. I'm feeling quite fit and healthy at the moment, strangely, in this time, because I don't know about everybody else, but we do have more opportunity to kind of be fit and healthy, if that makes sense. So I've been getting out walking and running and things like that, which has been great, and making the most of the weather when I can. So yeah, I'm okay, thank you.
Splendid. I'm a bit of a shadow of my former self as well, but for similar reasons, really. But I can't speak for the Dean.
Well, indeed, as you know, some people are going up and down their stairs, and the number of times they go up and down their stairs is they go several thousand times. They've climbed the Matterhorn or something. I've just managed Carnbray, so I'm
Yeah, well done. I can't do that living in a bungalow, so.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you're missing out.
So, just tell us. Tell us what you've been doing during your ministry during this lockdown period, because you've obviously got a ministry also in your parishes, so you can tell us a bit about that too. But then perhaps tell us when you're working in the chaplaincy and what that's like.
Yes, so I'd say for the first few weeks of the lockdown, obviously as everything ceased to function as previously, I found that my ministry, as I knew it, pretty much disappeared, as a lot of us did. So, and that was quite disorientating at first. And I probably spent 2 or 3 weeks, like many of us, trying to make sense of what I could actually do in this strange time. I probably spent a lot of time on the phone to people, seeing how they were, or on email, that kind of thing. But then there's only so much of that you can do after a while. And fortunately for me, and it was a bit out of the blue, really, I received an email one day from our Archdeacon Audrey asking me whether I would consider going into to help the chaplaincy at Trelisk. And I mean, I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I thought, wow, I don't know if I can do that. That's quite a big ask, because after you've been shut away in your home for a little while, the outside world begins to feel a bit scary in this time that we're in. And I was being asked to go to a place that many would perceive to be a hotbed of the virus, if you like, in the hospital. I mean, it is an incorrect perception, I hasten to add, but it felt like that initially. However, when I read sort of a bit more of the email and decided that I did feel it was something that I could help with, and it was at least worth going to have a conversation with the chaplaincy team to see if it would be right for me, I went along and met Mark and Sarah, two of the chaplains at the hospital, and was very impressed with the setup that they have there. Actually, in a funny sort of way, when you face something that is very frightening, when you face it head on, it's not as frightening anymore. And that's kind of what I felt going into the hospital. So this COVID-19 that had become an enormous monster in the outside world, as I went into the hospital and I saw how well and organised they were, how they were had lots of processes and procedures in place to keep staff safe and to care for the patients, it suddenly became a whole lot less scary, and I was glad to be able to go in and join in the rota, which initially a lot of the role was about supporting staff. So just for staff to know that some of us who don't have to be in the hospital will be prepared to be there was incredibly valuable for them. It helped them to feel they were being, what they were doing was really valued and respected. They were not forgotten in any way. And it meant a lot to them just to see a smiling face around and to, to just know that the outside world cared. So I do that a couple of days a week. I've been doing that for the last month now.
And have you got any sense just what the morale is like in hospital, Rachel, and how people keep their own spirits up and so on?
Yes, so I think when I first went in about a month ago, there was more of a sense of, we really don't know what's going to happen. We are preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best, was the words that we used quite a lot. And therefore there was a lot of trepidation, I guess, amongst the staff and everybody else. We don't know what's coming. We're doing our best. We know we'll be able to deal with it because we've put lots of things in place. I'd say as the weeks have gone by, that's eased a bit for everybody, sort of everywhere in the country, although we still don't know entirely what will happen in the future. And so the morale has, I would say, has got better. I like to think, well, the work I've been involved in with the chaplaincy team, one of the things we've done is give out chocolate to the staff. And it's amazing how a little thing like that actually really lifts the spirits of people, especially when it's free. And again, it just helps to make them feel valued. And I think it's just people around who are being positive, that really helps them as well. And yeah, just a calming presence as well. That's the chaplaincy team feel that when they sort of turn up on wards, they get the sort of feedback that, oh, we love it when you come because we just feel calmer, just because there's people there, I suppose, who aren't here to do a specific task, just to be with us, and that helps to make us feel calm. Mm. So yeah, morale I think is good, definitely.
Mm. And how do you feel sense of presence that you have there? You say you're not actually, I suppose, saying a great deal, you're just that sort of presence, and you feel that is making a difference, just that being a symbol of something other than the sort of hectic world of healthcare.
Yes, it's interesting that you say that. So this morning I was in the hospital, and I'd just been to the Duchy Hospital as well to visit somebody, and I was coming back to Trelisk, and I was walking through the corridor, the main corridor there, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder when I'll start to recognise more people. It's such a big place here. There are so many people that work here. I don't think I ever appreciated that. But as I walked along, and then I arrived in the chaplaincy offices and things, and what was on my mind was thinking, actually there's something about just being here several days a week, couple of days a week, and just getting to know the place, and people start to recognise me, and I feel that presence is so valuable. And it's a funny thing to reflect on, I think, at a time when, for the church, they can't be present, people can't be present, ministers, lay people can't be present, except online, which is something, but to actually be able to be physically present is amazing. And I don't think it can ever be replaced entirely, partially, by an online presence. So yeah, that was my reflection this morning. But I reflected that it's about a repeated presence, not just a sort of now and then one-off, you know, from a distance. It grows over time, and it grows in its value over time.
I think something we actually we were talking about within the Cathedral team this week was that we have all these wonderful digital ways of communicating with each other. But it doesn't stop the fact that I don't half miss people, and it'll be good to be back with people again.
Yes.
Have that real present engagement with people. Certainly for me, it's something that I miss a great deal. I was wondering. I mean, I've known the chaplaincy and called in there several times through the years. Do you think the chaplaincy department itself feels like that it's had a greater sort of impact on the hospital community than it would do in normal times, if there is a normal time at Treliske Hospital?
Yes, I do. I do think that a lot. And well, Mark and the team will say, definitely say to me that at this time their presence again has been really appreciated in a greater way. There has been an opportunity for them to be involved in different meetings and to be invited into different spaces in the hospital that they weren't previously. And just to give that calming sort of reassurance or to give a message of hope, that's been really, really important. And again, this has been the result for them of a lot of years of work, of just being there and building those relationships. And it almost feels like some of it was meant for a time like this, that they could earn that ability to be in those spaces and to be able to have a voice in that and to be able to help the staff. And that's been incredibly important to the chaplaincy team. And I think also they've themselves been more visible in the hospital because of what's happened and everything. So they've moved out from their own, the chaplaincy offices, to be out in the hospital a lot more. So we have an area by the main entrance at the moment in the Trelawney wing that they call the hub. And at the end of each day, or most days, that's where some of the chaplains will give out chocolate to the staff who are leaving from their shifts, and just to get again to have that sort of a smiling face saying here's some chocolate, you know. And staff members have said, oh, it's just wonderful to finish off your shift like that, you know, and to know you're valued and that people are grateful for what we're doing. So yeah, they've moved out from their space into the hospital is what I'm saying at this time, as well as physically and being allowed into these different areas perhaps that they weren't before, which it's been fantastic.
What I find really moving is that we have to learn lessons from this as the church. That when we can gain trust from whatever vineyard we happen to be in, then there are opportunities for us to be present, and that is a mutual thing. Our presence can be of benefit. So perhaps a lesson we could learn is, Alan, that perhaps we should get out of the cathedral more, go and stand at the entrance of Tesco's and hand out chocolate to everybody. I think that could be a way forward.
Yes, I agree. It's a very good idea.
I will make it the basis of my future ministry. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Real lessons to learn from what you've been saying, Rachel. It's very powerful.
I wanted to just add something at this point, because I do think it's relevant. When I first visited the chaplaincy and they showed me around and talked about what I would be doing, the thing I said to them was that for me it felt something that I had been doing in a limited way already in my ministry during my time at the Cathedral, was what I actually said, because that has been for me somewhere in ministry where I could be present. Again, you wander around the Cathedral and people come and talk to you, or even just going outside the doors and going into coffee shops and things outside of the Cathedral. I get to see the same people, and you get to know them, and it's that relationship building. And so it felt for me an extension of what I was doing when I came into the hospital. There was a parallel there, so it felt very familiar and valuable.
There was an interesting quote offered to us the other day in one of our meetings, and I think it came from somebody who was not particularly a church person in any kind of way, but they made the comment that they never thought before why military chaplains actually go into combat with troops, but somehow through this crisis they'd realised the value of chaplains and people being there in those really difficult situations.
Yes, and again, something similar was said to me on my first visit to the chaplaincy at Treliske. It is a bit like the military chaplain would go to the battlefield with the soldiers quite often. And again, by us being present in the hospital, the staff who are dealing with the COVID patients, we're there on the coalface with them. We're not hiding from it, hiding in a safe space somewhere. We're actually saying, you've got to face this, so we're going to as well, which is, it means a lot. It means an awful lot to them, to the staff.
There's no accident that the phrase is like front line being used about. Sadly, we seem to have lost Alan in the electronic ethers, but I'm very happy to continue with Rachel for a bit longer. What were you saying, Rachel, just then?
Yes, I was just talking about the PPE. So there is in no sense that chaplains are somehow protected and don't need to wear the PPE in the same way that all the other staff do, because of course we do. So every time you visit a patient or go on a ward, you wash your hands, you wear face masks, apron, visor, all the works, and we've been trained in that. And it adds another layer of complexity to visiting patients, talking to people. But this is what the staff are having to do every day. They're having to do their jobs while wearing all this protective gear, which is no easy thing at all. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that in there.
And what do you think when eventually it, whatever the new normal is, that new phrase we're using,
Yes.
that is re-established and perhaps the need for chaplaincy, the extra chaplaincy recedes, what do you think you'll take away from your time as a chaplain in Treliske? And I know difficult questions, I know, but how do you think that may affect your parish ministry and other ministries you may be involved with?
One of the things that Mark Richards, the lead chaplain, said to me when I first came to meet with him, he said, if you come and work with us here as a chaplain, he said, your ministry will never be the same. And I have pondered what he meant by that, because he didn't tell me what he meant by that. But when he said it, I felt, I think he's going to be right, but I'm not really sure how until I'm actually do it for myself. But I would say already every day I'm just learning things that I never knew. And most of what I learn is about people. And I suppose when you've been in ministry a few years, you think you know quite a lot about people. You spend a lot of time with them. Surely you know how they react. But just through being somewhere like the hospital, it's a place where people of all backgrounds, all walks of life come along at a time of need. And therefore, just through talking to them, even in a limited way, I learn about life, and I learn about the real difficulties that many people face, that maybe in quite a lot of times and ways I've been protected from in the church, and yet in the hospital it's all there, and that's incredibly useful to learn more about that, and I shall certainly ponder that more in my ministry. And I guess again, and I think I knew it already, but maybe I start to know it even more, the value of building relationships, the value of being, I'm going to say it again, being present in a place, in a community. It's something that I have reflected on when we talk about the new normal for the church. It's almost like I feel the church needs to be more present, because it hasn't been able to be present except in a virtual way. And that has meant more people can access us and see us if they like, if they have online capability, they can do that. They can see us and hear what we're saying, maybe more than they ever could. But that, as I said, is not enough on its own. We need to be out there with people, not just as clergy, as lay people, but people who are representing the church in different ways, in different parts of life, in all parts of life.
Sure, that's right. And we love our buildings, and we love our liturgy and the music, and we're very privileged to be involved in the cathedral. Sometimes it can act as a cocoon, and as you say, it can feel sort of defensive a little bit, and by properly exposing ourselves, not you know what I mean when I say that.
I do know what you mean.
but in these new environments, it's almost like we're learning, but actually we're meeting a need by being invited into those places, isn't it, really?
Yes.
Into those contexts.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I hope we can learn from this. There are so many valuable things to learn from this terrible situation, to make perhaps better ways of living, better ways of being church. You just don't know. It would be very sad if we simply just reverted back to type and not learn from the experience of all this.
Yes, it would. It would be very sad. That's what I think. Yes, there's much we can learn, but we can't jump too quickly to know what that learning is.
No, yeah. And we've valued very much your ministry within the cathedral, particularly in our educational theological programs and so on, in Windows and all that. What floats your boat theologically, Rachel?
Oh gosh, that's a big question.
We've got about 3 minutes before. No.
3 minutes. Yes, I can kind of answer that. So for me, I'm interested, and again, it comes through more and more through my ministry that I'm doing at the hospital now. I'm interested in how people encounter the sacred, because I think there are so many different ways that happens. And I don't think we should discount any of them. And sometimes we do too readily. So many of the people that I see or visit in the hospital, they may not have the same words to articulate faith as people in church, but it does not mean that they don't have an innate sense of something other, something that they want to connect with. And my interest is helping them to do that, I guess. And the more I learn about people, the more I learn about life and the life that people have, the more able I feel to facilitate people's journey, if you want to use that word. And it interests me. That's theologically, that's the thing that really excites me.
Excellent. And just to inform our listeners that Alan has now returned after being sort of I think bounce might have stood on your computer or something, Alan. I don't know if that was the case, but we're recording away here merrily. Just to say that the gospel reading for Sunday is the way, the truth and the life. And what the life of Christ is, I see more and more in other people, and I learn more about my faith, my relationship with our Lord, by just being with people and learning from them and being enriched by them in all sorts of ways.
Yes.
And it's a ceaseless wonder. You know, that's the main thing. And the longer you're in ministry, you know, you could say, oh yes, I know it now, I know how to do all this stuff. Yeah. But actually, I just feel as if I'm starting out in many respects. And because each day brings new, and it's not just being purple prosy about it, I think each day brings new opportunities to see that richness in the world around us.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Rachel, very much. I think we've had about 23 or 4 minutes, and that's about, you know, what we normally have for these conversations. It's good to see you, and thank you for all that you're doing at the moment, not just for us at the Cathedral, but your valuable ministry in the hospital. And I'm sure what you've just said to us now will help convey that it's a two-way thing, that you're informing us about how we can all learn from your valuable time there.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, take care and look after yourself, and God's blessing upon you and all your work and all your ministry.
Thank you very much, and to you, Roger, and all at the Cathedral.
Take care.